Hi, this is Steve DeMasi and welcome to Uncharted DIY. Today's project is a pretty simple one and it's quick to build. This is what I'm calling my off-road plant rack. The idea behind this is that with these giant wheels, plants that are being hardened off can come out in the daytime and then go back in the garage at night and have no problem rolling over all the obstacles in the way. This same setup would work for any type of outdoor storage situation. We've been starting a lot of plants from seed, and part of that process is hardening off, which is the transition between living inside under lights and spending some time outside getting acclimated to the weather. The temperatures are still cold enough at night that the plants need to come back in. Our grow station with the lights on the inside of the house is on wheels. Those wheels work great on the inside of the house and on carpet, but we wanted another rack that could go outside. So the solution was another metal shelving unit from Home Depot. The problem is we've got a pretty big threshold between the garage and the patio, and then from the patio out to the yard, there are some pretty big obstacles to go over. First, we tried the 4-inch casters that are made for this shelving rack. It was very difficult to get it over the threshold and out into the yard. Those little wheels got caught on everything. Because it was so difficult to move, I was concerned that the rack would easily fall over. And I was trying to avoid a situation like this. We lived with that for about a week, but the final straw was realizing that we bent the wheels trying to get it in and out. You can see here that the shaft of the caster bent pretty severely. My solution was to mount much bigger casters. Home Depot and Lowe's don't carry any large casters in stock, but I found some 8-inch pneumatic swivel casters at Harbor Freight that were perfect for the job. Now, a 4-inch caster versus an 8-inch caster probably doesn't sound that big, but take a look at the difference that it makes here. These are the original casters as compared to the new ones. As you can see, this really increased the clearance. Because the new casters had a plate instead of a threaded shaft, I mounted them to a 2-foot by 4-foot, 3/4 inch pressure-treated piece of plywood. I knew this shelving rack may carry a lot of weight, so I chose a 3/4 inch piece of plywood to make sure it was plenty sturdy. Because this was going to be outside a lot of the time, I decided pressure treated was the way to go. And also, being a plant rack, it's inevitable that the wood would get wet. My shelving rack was 48 inches by 18 by 72 inches tall. I put the casters all the way to the edge of the board to provide a nice, wide, stable base. I inset them a couple inches away from the edge so that the bolts didn't interfere with mounting the shelving unit. The easiest way to do this is to put the board on the ground and then center the shelf on it. Trace around the legs. Then move the shelving unit aside. Drill a hole large enough to accommodate the 3/8 inch bolt that goes through to mount into the bottom of the legs. Once those 4 holes are drilled, trace the hole pattern of the casters, and then drill holes large enough to accommodate a 5/16 inch bolt. Once that's done, attach the casters to the board using the 5/16 bolts, a flat washer, and a lock washer. Put the bolt head in from the bottom so that the threads don't stick down and interfere with the ability of the caster to swivel. Tighten those up and then you've got a rolling platform. At this point, you can put the shelving unit back on the wood and attach it through the bottom into the legs using the 3/8 inch bolts. The fender washers underneath prevent the bolt from just pulling through the wood. One thing I've discovered after putting this together is that it would be a good idea to round off the corners or cut them off at a 45-degree angle before attaching the casters or the shelf. This will prevent those corners from catching on the doorway. Now, in my case, because this sits quite a bit taller than the original casters, I needed to take a few inches off the top of the legs so that the shelving system would clear the doorway. I did this with an angle grinder and a cutoff wheel. As you can see, I took about 3.5 inches off. Then I took the plastic caps that were on the ends and put them on the new shorter legs. Now this is a whole lot easier to transport around the yard, and it's quite a bit more stable. We're using ours for a plant starting cart, but for any kind of shelving unit that needs to be mobile outside, this design will work great. This is Steve, and thanks for watching Uncharted DIY. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe and leave comments below. And also check out UnchartedDIY.com, where you'll find further information and more detailed how-to projects.